This is The Efficiency Point, a podcast from Modern Pumping Today magazine. I'm MPT editor Jay Campbell, along with our producer Richard Council. We'd like to welcome all of our new listeners and remind you that you can find us online at mptmag.com. Please rate, review, and subscribe to the show on any of your favorite podcast apps, where you can also find our past episodes from 2019. On today's show, we speak with Ron Crosier, president and founder of Greasezilla, a West Virginia-based company that's providing an innovative solution for treating fats, oils, and grease in municipal wastewater. Also, we take an early look at the upcoming issue of MPT. But first, some headlines. Story, ACE 20 registration is open today. Registration is now open for the American Waterworks Association's annual conference and exhibition, or ACE. The event will be held June 14th through 17th in 2020 in Orlando, Florida. The theme of ACE 20 this year will be A Future So Bright, so attendees can expect to learn leading-edge solutions and exchange knowledge to help ensure that they meet the challenges of the next decade facing the water profession around the world. The American Waterworks Association notes that recent successes in addressing challenges and more effective water management are fueling the positivity felt around the industry. Yet many challenges in the water sector remain, such as infrastructure renewal, supply, quality, water resiliency, affordability, and application of the workforce. If you've never attended an ACE event before, I highly recommend it. You'll find that water professionals are an optimistic bunch, both about the health of their industry and its future. If you are a water professional interested in leveraging innovation, advocacy, and new programs to address critical issues to protect the world's most important resource, you can register online to attend ACE 20 at awa.org/ACE. That website is awwa.org/ACE. So give them a check out. And while ACE is a few months away, another important industry event is right around the corner. Co-sponsored by the Air Conditioning, Heating, and Refrigeration Institute and by ASHRAE, the AHR Expo for 2020 will feature thousands of products in more than 770 categories. Additionally, the 2020 version of the exhibition will include two new special focus areas on the show floor. The first being the Building Automation and Control Showcase, which will be a special area of the show where you'll find BAC-related products and services. Some of those would be energy and facility management systems, climate controls, monitoring systems, as well as entire network building solutions. The other special area would be the Software Center, which is a special area of the show floor designed for all HVAC-related software, both off-the-shelf versions and customizable solutions. Those would include project and field service management, inventory control, GPS tracking, remote-based and cloud-based software, and many other innovations. And speaking of innovation, this year's AHR Expo will be the first ever to include a podcast pavilion. Several industry podcasts will be recording live, sharing content with guests on the show floor, answering questions from attendees, and all attendees are welcome to have access to the Podcast Pavilion meet and greet, where they'll have a chance to talk one-on-one with some of the industry experts and address some of their concerns on social media. AHR Expo will be held February 3rd through 5th in the Orange County Convention Center, also in Orlando, Florida. You can read more about AHR Expo 2020 in the January issue of MPT in our trade show profile. A lot of stuff going on in Orlando, Richard. Maybe you and I should get down there on the Podcast Pavilion.
Yeah, we should definitely look into it. I know I am.
All right, yeah. Find out what it takes to get us on the Podcast Pavilion. Maybe we'll do a live episode at AHR Expo.
Oh, absolutely. Maybe we can show them what a real podcast sounds like.
Yeah, take them on, head on. That's right. They're not colleagues; they're competitors. That's how we see it. While we're in Orlando, maybe we could also do that Star Wars land.
Have you ever been to Star Wars land?
No.
I haven't either. I just like Star Wars.
I don't even like Star Wars. I just like the idea of Star Wars land. Maybe I could be like the Chewbacca and you could be Han Solo. That way I wouldn't have to say much.
Give us your best Chewbacca impression.
Okay. No.
Okay.
All right. That's the closest of an impression you'll get out of me. In other news, a recent report published by Persistence Market Research predicts that F.O.G, fat, oil, and grease removal equipment market, is expected to grow in the first half of the coming decade. The report throws light on various raw material suppliers, vendors, manufacturers, and market players in the value chain of F.O.G removal, as well as the economic and political scenarios of different regions around the world. Critical insights included in the report are a review of the global F.O.G removal equipment market during the past 2 years, as well as a forecast period going up to 2025, an analysis of the marketing, sales, promotional strategies adopted by different market players in different areas, and an in-depth study of the supply-demand trends in different regions, as well as the manufacturing production capabilities of various players operating in the F.O.G removal equipment market. The competitive outlook chapter of the report highlights business prospects of prominent players operating in the market, including their product pricing, strategies, preferred market channels, product portfolios, and market presence. We'll be talking with one of those prominent players, Ron Crosier, the founder and president of West Virginia-based Greasezilla, later in today's show. A link to the full report can be found in the show notes for this episode. One more news item, a little bit of house cleaning from closing out 2019, and some congratulations. Since 2001, the Submersible Wastewater Pump Association, or SWAPA, has awarded scholarships to students affiliated with member companies who are studying in the field of engineering. The Charles G. Stolberg Memorial Scholarship is named after longtime SWAPA Executive Director Chuck Stolberg, and the 2019 award has a record number of applicants. 6 applicants were personally interviewed by SWAPA Administrative Director Carol Stolberg, and the Executive Committee reviewed each of these applications and interviewed them at the November 13th Executive Committee meeting last year. Honorable mentions were given to the following students: Laura Zielinski, representing Xylem; Doug Schoenberger, representing Ohio Electric Control; Allison Williams, representing Liberty Pumps; and Michael Giassarella, representing Grundfos. The winners of the 2019 Charles G. Stolberg Memorial Scholarship are Cole Swinson, representing Vaughn, and Jacob Siemens, representing Ohio Electric Control. Congratulations to them, and good luck to them in their future endeavors. We look forward to hearing what they have in store. Fat, oils, and grease, or F.O.G waste, is becoming a serious issue for many communities around the country. One company, Greasezilla, has dedicated itself to solving that problem, and we're pleased to have their president, Ron Crosier, join us today. Hi, Ron. How are you feeling?
I'm good, Jay. How are you?
You're doing very well. And thanks for taking time to join us today. Ron, tell us a little bit about Greasezilla, your company, and how it set itself apart in handling the growing need for F.O.G treatment.
Sure. We started in the pumping industry in the 60s, and we began pumping grease traps in the early 80s. And disposing of grease trap waste has always been an issue. I don't know that it's ever been easy. And we used several technologies over the years, dewatering technologies, composting, and 15 years ago, we were heavily into composting and using sawdust as a bulking agent. And at that time, we were paid to haul away sawdust from sawmills in the area. And then with the advent of the wood pellets, that product that we were once paid to haul away became quite valuable, and that made the composting difficult for us. And then we started looking at other methods of handling the waste. Using POTWs was not an option for us in southern West Virginia. There were, at the time, no facilities that accepted grease trap waste. And so we were aware of the BTU content of brown grease. It was made clear to us from several compost fires that we'd had over the years. And we began researching a way to remove the brown grease from the grease trap waste. We realized that once the brown grease was out of the mix, disposing of the rest of it wasn't a problem. We could blend it with septage. We could take it to plants that accepted septage. We could land apply. We had a lot of options.
In the old days, it was hard to find places that could treat fat oils and grease.
Oh, absolutely. We had no options in West Virginia, none at all. We had to handle it ourselves if we were going to be in the business. The large companies then, hauled it to facilities in other states, and you could blend a little bit of it with septage, and that was what many of the small haulers did. But you couldn't blend a bunch of it.
I bet that got pricey too, didn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And you'd find yourself in a bind very easily. So that led us to start our research and development of a way to remove brown grease from the grease trap waste. And after a few years of R&D, Greasezilla was the result.
So how does Greasezilla work differently than the old method, and what are you offering your customers now?
Well, Greasezilla is different from many of the other technologies that haulers used, in that all of the technologies available really boiled down to one principle: adding polymers to cause the grease to coagulate on other solids, and then filtering out the grease and solids. But when you were finished with that, you still had two waste streams to dispose of. You had the sludge and the water. The water was still very high in BOD, and the sludge was just a goopy mess that you really couldn't do anything with but landfill. And landfill fees just horrendous. And those technologies are just incredibly labor intensive, especially if you make a mistake with the polymer addition and bind your filtering system.
Plus, a lot of communities are trying to cut down on landfill access overall, aren't they?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So with Greasezilla, there's really no need to landfill anything at the end of the day. Once the brown grease is removed, the batter and the water are easily disposed of.
So in that process, if I'm in charge of the municipal wastewater system in my area, who do you think might be, what are my options that I'm looking at and dealing with F.O.G going in, and where does Greasezilla come in to help me going forward?
Well, if you're in the municipal wastewater system, the technologies available basically center around anaerobic digestion. And with that process, you just blend grease trap waste with huge amounts of sewage sludge. The sewage sludge has a very little energy left in it at this point, and so there's not a lot of profit in creating biogas. The addition of grease trap waste adds a lot of energy to the mix, but the brown grease in that mixture causes foaming issues, and can shut down the digesters for long periods of time. Digesters are incredibly expensive, and we commonly see ROIs of 15 to 20 years on this technology when it's implemented at a POTW, and investments of $15 million and higher.
That's a lot of overhead.
Absolutely, and then a lot of maintenance on a system that's very sensitive to upset.
But Greasezilla doesn't have that same ROI, does it?
Absolutely. With a Greasezilla system operating at 50% capacity, you can realize a return on investment of 2 years. And so it makes a lot of sense. It's not a huge investment, depending on your current infrastructure, anywhere from $750,000 to maybe $2 million, and you're in business. And because there's a market for the brown grease that we produce as a substitute for bunker oil or a feedstock for some of the new biodiesel technologies, you have no trouble ridding yourself of the brown grease once you've produced it.
$1 million here, $1 million there. Pretty soon it adds up to real money.
Right.
And
absolutely, but
go ahead, Ron.
Oh, I was just going to say that for the smaller treatment plants that don't have money in their budget to even spend a couple of $1 million on a system to get into the grease trap waste receiving system, we're so confident in the profitability of our system and the low cost of operation that we're happy to partner with treatment plants and offer them options at basically zero cost to get into the business, and then just profit share for a few years to recapture our investment.
Like you mentioned earlier, you got your start in West Virginia, but how far do you see the reach and need for Greasezilla going in the future?
Well, we have trouble in this country with grease trap waste, and all developing countries are having that problem. We're currently working with customers in Asia, in Australia, in South America, and Canada, and the United States. And we've had several inquiries from Europe where they have a great appreciation for the value of brown grease. They're currently subsidizing the burning of brown grease as a substitute for bunker oil in many European countries. So we see applications all over the world. We currently have systems operating in Chile, in the Caribbean, and as well as the United States.
Well, if you'll pardon my misquoting John Denver, it seems like those country roads have led just about everywhere.
Well, yeah, I guess that's true. We certainly do have an international reach. There's no question about that. In fact, we probably get as many inquiries from the rest of the world as we do from the United States.
That's great. Well, Ron, if people listening to this want to learn more about Greasezilla or get in contact with you, where can they find you online?
Sure, www.greasezilla.com, Greasezilla. And I think I dated myself by saying www. I understand young people don't do that anymore.
Well, I think, young or old, I think people are going to find a lot of value in the products and services you're offering. So thank you for taking time to share with us today.
Absolutely. Happy to talk to you.
Take care.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye.
The first issue of 2020 is headed your way. Inside, Owen Betts of Infotech Drive shares how a hospital has optimized its water supply with their company's OptiDrive Echo system. Also, Rob Martindale of Watson Marlowe Fluid Technology Group shows how a new pump system solves corrosion and viscosity problems for one town in Michigan. Lastly, we all know how corrosion can cause damage to non-resistant metallic components, so Stephen Wild of Homa Pump Technology tells us how a pump series made of investment cast stainless steel has increased the service life of their pumps with maximum efficiency. All that and more can be found in the January issue of MPT. Richard, since it's January, do you have any New Year's resolutions you'd like to share?
Actually, I don't. Every year I fail to actually follow through with them anyways, so I just decided this year that I'm just going to not have one.
That seems to be the way with most New Year's resolutions. They always seem to be made, but never, in fact, it seems like most New Year's resolutions end up, the opposite happens. So maybe that should be it. We should think strategically about this.
Okay.
So my resolution this year is going to be, I'm going to work out less.
Perfect.
I'm going to eat worse food.
Okay.
I'm going to spend way less time with my family.
Okay.
And just overall, just try to be miserable.
I think that sounds like a plan.
Yeah. Now, when I fail at any of those goals, I'll actually be happy on the other side of it. I'll actually spend more time with my family and be in better shape and better health, and
Reverse psychology on yourself.
Yeah. I'm playing 11th dimensional chess over here.
That's right.
Well, I hope that your New Year's resolution is to subscribe to MPT. And if you're listening to this, there's still time to sign up for a free 12-month subscription so you can get all issues from 2020 by visiting mptmag.com and clicking on the subscribe tab. This has been The Efficiency Point, a podcast from MPT Magazine. Follow us on Twitter at ModPumpMag for updates on our next episode and what we have down the road. Today's episode was produced by Richard Council. Until next time, I'm your host, Jay Campbell. Thank you again for listening.